Welcome to Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Ben Slinger, and with me, as always, is Trevor Scott.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
The Hey Heys. It's our new band, Ben and the Hey Heys.
Hey, with the Hey Heys. hey, to hey.
I'm really fucking tired tonight, so it's going to be an interesting
one. Of those nights.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I've got a drink.
Well, let's start off our show and let's do some click pitch.
You sure you want to do some click pitch? I thought you wanted to pitch us a game. That's what you told me yesterday.
Well, I do have a game that I was going to pitch. I just didn't know if we were going to do that right, or I was going to jump into it later. No, let's start with the click pitch. Okay. I'm not ready.
You're not ready.
I'm not ready to
You're
pitch
not ready.
it.
Okay. This feels very much like a radio show, and I hope Ben kept all this in. I'm going to make it very hard for him to cut it all out. Click pitch is a game where we each have a random word generator on the count of 3 to 1 click. When I click refresh, get a couple of words, an adjective and a noun, and we're going to throw them at each other, and then we'll come up with a game design baby. And then we'll talk about that game design baby for a few minutes, and then when it doesn't work out, we throw it away with the bathwater, and we start it all over again.
That's an interesting metaphor you got there, since we threw the words at each other and somehow that made a baby. You have one child, Trevor. I think you know how they made.
I threw things across the room, and then we had a child.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're quite understanding correlation and causation in this situation. But anyway, yeah, let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, I've only had one. You've had 4. You've had more opportunity to see what actually caused the baby making process. I continued experimenting and proved my hypothesis correct. Yeah.
It's fucking all right. 3.
Deserving reminder.
Rural collaboration.
Did you not hear my words? Deserving reminder.
Deserving reminder. Yeah. Reminder, yeah. And rural.
Rural Joe. God, I haven't seen 30 Rock for so fucking long. I fucking love it.
So, rural collaboration makes me just think of, some sort of organizing, right? Some sort of, somebody building something out in the boonies. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're building something dangerous. It's a weapon.
It's a spaceship.
Or some sort of... Or a spaceship.
Mm.
So some people out in the rural areas decide that, fuck this, we're going to space.
Fuck this, we're going to prove that the Earth is round, and we're going to build ourselves a spaceship.
Right, so
and prove that motherfucker.
It's a
tractor powered.
It's a contingent of people out in the farmlands who are sick of all these people. Well, are they trying to prove that it's flat or to prove that it's
they haven't made up their minds yet. They think that it's round.
Right, they're teaching the controversy of the shape of the Earth. There's just too many people who believe it's flat for us to completely discount it, so we need to do our own research, which in this case means building a rocket and seeing if we can see the curvature of the Earth or not.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
that's a
given that it's a collaboration, this is a multiplayer game in which basically you've got teams trying to build their spaceship first.
Okay. Interesting. What are they... So they're going around and kind of scavenging stuff from tractors and farm equipment and farmhouses and things.
And, like, secret underground labs. All the regular things that you find in a farmland.
I do like the idea of that being sort of a rare find. Because I'm sort of picturing almost a PUBG kind of deal, where it's like a large area.
Yep.
you're going, you've got all these different buildings and different things scattered around, and you're scavenging the parts that you need as a team. And, potentially fending off the other teams who might also be here trying to get stuff.
Yeah.
But I think there's respawns. Like, I think if you die,
it's not like a PUBG where you got one life and that's it. This is a game where when you die, you get respawned as another town member. So you sort of take over another town member.
So you lose your items. You can go back and if you had some good shit, and you know where you died, you can go back and get it.
You'll take over a town member somewhere in the map. Like, it's not necessarily nearby. It's just, it's sort of, it'll get zoomed out and then sort of do a Grand Theft Auto
GTA style, yeah.
GTA style zoom into your new character, and then you have to sort of work out where you were.
They get a phone call saying, like, "Hey,
Billy Bob died, and we need you."
Yeah, we need you to join our team. We're building a rocket. And like, yep, all right. Okay, that's fun. And so you can obviously then, like, raid other people's like what they've started building. You can definitely, if you manage to knock them all off, and then they're just random town members trying to get their way back to the barn where they're building this particular rocket.
Yeah, but unlike, a PUBG where there's weapons around everywhere, I think weapons are kind of, they're a commodity. They're something that you aren't going to find absolutely everywhere. Like,
yeah, you don't walk into a house and there's just like
bullets
piles of ammo and like submachine guns and stuff. I think there's a lot of melee stuff.
Table legs,
maybe just
frying
like
pans,
throwing things like like rocks and but you can find shotguns, rifles, like farm weapons essentially.
I mean, you get a good fucking combine harvester going. And,
you can team kill.
It depends on whether you can work out how to silence the fucker. So that you have a
silenced combine harvester.
So you have a combine harvester with a silencer on it.
It's all right. You don't silence the harvester itself, but it is the silencer, because you can fire to your heart's content, and they won't hear you over the sound of the combine harvester.
You've got to be really, really good to get that combine harvester kill, especially the triple kill.
Oh yeah, it's pretty slow. So, but definitely, if you can do a whole team wipe with a combine harvester, there's an achievement for you. I like this. I like this a lot. I like where this is heading. Yep. So you said triple kill. Are you thinking 3 people to a team?
I do like the three people to a team, but I think you can sort of have 1, 2, 3, or 4. Like,
okay,
I think there's enough there to sort of with a single player, they can sort of be a little bit more sneakier because you don't have lots of people making sound. You've got one person, so people aren't being alerted.
I like the idea also of you. So I'm just thinking from the gameplay perspective of building the rocket. So you need to scavenge a certain amount of types of material. Maybe it initially starts with just like metal and metal rods and metal plating and stuff that you can essentially break things down into.
You can strip the old Ford in the driveway, and you can get some quick and easy bits of metal there. However, if you keep the Ford for a while, then you can maybe drive it into town and gather some other stuff. And
I think that's a good trade-off there.
But that you've got some metal there that you can rely on. But if you're in town and you're in the hardware store or whatever trying to pick up your stuff and spend a small amount of money, but you come outside and your car's now up on cinder bricks and it's been totally stripped down to the frame, that's your own fault.
Yeah, you should have left a scout, left someone out there to protect it. The other thing I was going to say though is I like the idea of there being larger items that you need. It's like, okay, well, we need the fucking rocket boosters or whatever, and we're going to build that out of a tractor engine. And so, yes, you can drive the tractor there, but you may not always have a working tractor. So I think if you've got more than one person, you can carry it collaboratively. So you can, like, both grab one side of it, and you need to do that anyway at certain points to get it into position and stuff. But otherwise, you're like...
Rope physics. You gotta
rope physics. You can drag it behind your car.
You gotta handle those rope physics.
You can get trailers. Yeah.
You can hypnotize a cow to help you out for a little while.
Only if you're a particular class.
Yes, only if
That's
you're
a class
the
feature.
mesmerist or the hypnotist. They are different. Don't tell me. Don't ask me how. I don't quite know yet, but I know that there is a mesmerist and a hypnotist, and they can.
Those are two of the many classes. There's also the secret class that you have to unlock, which is the cow, the romancer, who just can also get the cow to do what they like. Cow whisperer, you know.
Yeah. You can also be a milkmaid, and they have a way with some cows.
Trevor's making motions with his hand, which I assume are milking cows.
Milking cows. Not milking bulls, no.
No. What are the other classes?
Of course you've got the rocket scientist.
I mean, there are plenty of them out in the rural areas of the country, sure.
I mean, milkmaids actually have a lot of points in rocket sciencery.
Rocket sciencery, that's a...
Yep.
Yep, sciencery, that's a perfectly cromulent word.
Yes, definitely. And, you know, I think mesmerists have, like, a few points in rocket science, but they're more in mind control. Mind controllery.
I do like the idea that you don't actually... There's not a rocket scientist class, because there aren't any of those... You know, well, maybe there is a rocket scientist class, but they're very low in a lot of other skills you need. But amongst all the other, like, if you choose different classes, each of them does have, like, a certain number of points in rocket sciencery.
Yep.
And they have to add up to enough that you're actually going to be able to construct this rocket.
Yeah. And
so you can't actually have 3 mesmerists on the team because,
you're just not going to do well unless you can find the one cow in the map that is actually a rocket scientist turned into a cow.
Or just a very smart cow. They don't have to have turned into a cow. They might have studied. I like the wackiness of this idea. And I think leaning into that would be really cool. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you've got classes based around probably fighting, melee classes, long-range classes. I think you've got...
what sort of long-range classes are you sort of thinking?
Well, I just mean like with ranged weapons, weaponry. Skilled in ranged weaponry, sharpshooters. You know, they're out there shooting womp rats or whatever is in... Because I assume we're on Tatooine. No. And then farmers, like different types of farmers, and then they're more skilled in the vehicles and things.
Well, I'm thinking that a grain farmer knows how to, like, distill grain into, like, some sort of rocket fuel.
Oh, the rocket fuel?
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, that's a good point. The fuel, we'll need different ways of getting the fuel.
Now,
and
again,
that will depend
you can
on
do
your
these
skills.
things as a single player, but you just have to purchase them from, like, you have to, like, go down to the local, you know, drinking hole and hire some mercenaries. And they're basically like your AI companions.
AI players, yeah.
They can
then
help
when
you
you
out.
get your money?
By selling things.
Right, so scavenging things and then the stuff you don't use you can sell off. Yeah, okay. How long would a round be? Like, how long is it that it takes to gather all this stuff? And
I'm thinking that, you know, if you speed run this whole thing, you could have everything. If you knew the seed of this particular world,
Right.
you could have everything up and running within, say, 5 minutes.
Right. That's very quick.
Yeah, but that's if you knew where every single component was. Normally, a round
Right.
is going to go for about 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking if you've got a fair amount of space, like the map's fairly large, which would have to be.
Yeah. How many
enough.
teams do you think are going at this?
I don't think it should be too many.
4?
Maybe like 4 or 5, yeah. Yeah. I think you could have 4 or 5 scattered around. And I like the idea, that it's not obviously not always the same place that they're building it either. Like, you start the build wherever you like. It could be out in the open. It could be in a barn, for
Underground lab.
protection. Underground, if you've found a lab, yeah.
You find the old missile silo and the underground lab,
Yeah.
and you can build that missile in the missile silo. Like, basically, you're
Yeah, that gives you
underground,
some
and then
bonuses, obviously, for protection, but also
you've
it's going
already
to take
got
you longer.
most of the rocket there. Like, this is the beautiful thing about it. Like, you got most of the rocket there.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to give them too much, but I think the added difficulty of getting the rest of the stuff down there, because
I mean, you have to know the code.
or you have to fix the fucking elevators and stuff or something to be able to get stuff up and down properly, or you give them extra things to do.
Yeah,
but it's heavily protected, and you've got a certain number of resources there already.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like you break into the underground lab, and then the Ed 209s kind of walk out, and they're just blowing the shit out of you. And
I like the idea of just adding stuff to this over time. Sort of like how Fortnite is just constantly adding crazy shit.
You know
now,
what?
But
I think you can almost do this game in the way that just because you may be assigned to another team doesn't mean that you can't, like, defect and join someone else's team, or have two teams helping each other out, only to duke it out as the countdown's going on their rocket.
Well, how do you decide if you've won? Do you just have to be on the rocket?
You're on the rocket, and you can see the curvature of the Earth.
I do like the idea that, to win, you literally just have to be on whichever rocket makes it up there first. So you almost don't even, I guess you would assign people to teams initially, and you'd have to be really careful about not making it too easy to just, gank people at the last second and steal the rocket that they've spent all that time building. But that could be part of it. Like, they need to have put enough protection in place that when they're ready to fire off...
I kind of see this kind of like Curiosity. If you remember the cube game that you...
Yes, I do, but I'm failing so far to see the similarity.
Everyone was working together to do this one thing, but only one person could win.
Yeah, okay.
So the idea is...
Oh, only one person even?
I think one team can win.
Right.
But it's whoever, happens to be last one standing on the rocket. But you can work together. Or, you can... I like the idea that you can actually get these... people have worked out that the best way of doing these things is all to build one rocket...
And then just fight it out.
And then we make... some other things down the track that if you can get there with a smaller rocket that only fits like one or two people, it can actually move faster. And
I do like the idea, yes, of adding different rocket designs that you're building towards. It would be interesting to make it that you just have to negotiate your alliances very early on.
I like the idea
essentially.
Of I usually like playing support characters, so I might be out there going out there scavenging for a few different teams, and sort of passing something off and then going off and passing something else out to someone else, and sort of hedging my bets as to which one goes better, rather than trying to build one myself. I'm sort of
to just bring it into the realistic gameplay perspective, though. My concern would be balancing it essentially, and also having it work. Does everyone have to be on mic, or are you able to give tools where you can kind of negotiate trades or different things, or is it all just purely, person-to-person verbal agreements?
You can have verbal agreements, but you can also have, like, the emote sort of system, kind of like in Overwatch, how you've got all the different go here and all this sort of stuff. It's like,
I'm just thinking, like,
you can come in going, I only want to trade, and then, you lay down the things that you want to trade. And
yeah, I'm just thinking about things like, if you wanted to make a deal where it's like, okay, if I trade you this stuff, I want to ride on your rocket or something like that, right? Like, I want to be on your rocket when it goes. That there's some gameplay mechanic in place that they can't just take off without you if you're not there. Like, you at least get a ping or something when the rocket, like, engines fire up and you've got 3 minutes to get there.
I think you get a T minus 2 minutes when anyone sets up their rockets to launch.
When anyone does.
Yeah. And then basically...
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
It just means that anyone else who starts up their rocket within that 2 minutes, like... depending on how they've got their rocket set up, they may be able to launch around the same time, or they may be well and truly out, so they realise, I've got to find this other rocket and take out these people.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think the T minus definitely puts a target on you then that other people can come and sabotage and cancel the launch. And that doesn't mean the end of it if you fight them off, but they might, like, do some damage to it, and you have to...
They may launch up,
fix it back up.
In the third farm that you were in, you saw the anti-aircraft guns, and you get in there and you blow the rocket out of the sky, and then your own rocket takes off. Like,
it's getting really complex. I like it though. I think it's getting complex because there are a lot of possibilities there.
Yeah, but so much gameplay. Like, unlike a lot of the other games that we've come up with in the last few weeks, this is heavy on the gameplay. This is all about, like, the different things.
Oh yeah, I could see all the different, and I could see this. Look, I could see this taking off as, like, a new popular multiplayer, thing, and I like that it's around something other than just kill everyone else.
It's so much so that, combat was one of the last things that we actually put into the game. Like, it is janky as fuck. But the trading mechanics, that's, like, perfect.
Or at least the I think you'd start...
The salvaging
with just the salvaging and stuff. And
I'm imagining that you need to sort of go over to the grain silo and sort of strip that down, and... because it's got both grain and also is kind of in a tank shape that is easy to sort of mold the metal into, like, fuel tanks for your rocket.
Yeah, well, look, I think it just gives you a lot of, like, the metal paneling resource that you need, probably, something like that. You'd need to abstract that out a bit, but yeah, I think essentially what you do is, you say, okay, we're going to build our rocket here, and you get your little... If you're on that team, like, if you've established an alliance with that team or whatever, you get the, the little outline of where the rocket's going to go, and then you're just bringing... As long as you bring all the pieces there, then it will get built, essentially. But, depending on your skills and your classes, it might take more or less time, and obviously then there's just all the challenge of actually getting the stuff there and protecting it.
Yeah, and then once the T minus 2 minutes is happening, and the silo opens up and all this sort of stuff, and you can sort of Dr. Zhivago it, jump onto it, and sort of swing your hat around and all this sort of stuff as you're riding it off into the sunset.
Yeah, that's it. If you're like if you're the last person because you're being attacked and you're fending off people trying to sabotage your rocket, and you didn't quite get to it in time before the doors closed, yes, you can just jump on and you can still get a win.
Yeah, and really, you'll be the first one to see the curvature of the Earth because you're on the outside, and sure, you may kind of lose oxygen and all that sort of stuff, but that's not what it was about. It was seeing, before you die, seeing the curvature of the Earth.
Well, I like the idea that it's actually randomly generated as to whether the Earth is flat or curved. Like, you might get up there and just see that... You might see that it's just a hard edge.
If you're on the outside,
it's-
it's kind of like Satisfactory. It's like there's a kill plane, and if you go above, if you hit that, it's like your health starts.
We're in a video game the whole time. Start going meta. All right. Well, that was a good one to start off with. We had a lot of fodder there.
And we didn't even use my words. That's even funnier. I didn't give a shit.
Reminder was sort of in there anyway. Let's do another. Don't you want to click?
Unspecified microcomputer.
Pleasing filing.
Microcomputer reminds me of like the BBC Micro, which takes me back to the 1980s. And filing in the 1980s would have been very much a physical thing, gradually moving into a digital thing.
Okay, and what was your other word?
Unspecified. So it's not a BBC microcomputer, it's just an unspecified,
It's just an
off-brand microcomputer.
Well, or maybe this comes from... I mean, so I think that gives us our time frame and our setting. It's a period piece. Unspecified might be, I've got this file and I don't know where it goes. Or something along those lines. Maybe this is just the kicking off point for the setting that, you're like in some office and they are moving from paper to digital.
Yeah, so
filing.
you're digitizing these files.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this is like a mystery game in which as you're digitizing these files, you're finding out these weird things that actually have been going on in this company for years.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. So maybe it's a cross between you've got your kind of... there's probably a good name for this, but like your computer interface game where you're like just using it as if it's a computer, and it's a microcomputer, so it's like parser based. It's text. It's a command line.
Yep.
And then, but switching out to actually walking around the office, I think, because, you find some stuff out and then you go and you like talk to your colleagues, or you talk to the HR person, or you're trying to, collaborate. No, that's not the word. You're trying to corroborate is what I was trying to think of. You're trying to corroborate the information that you're coming up with from these files with actual people's knowledge. And
you're
stuff.
collaborating with your corroborators.
Yes, and corroborating their collaboration.
Yep.
That's cool.
It really is.
What sort of company is this, and what is the secret that you are discovering?
I think that it's like one of those typical sort of maybe Wall Street companies that, is sort of all high and mighty about, being God-fearing and all this sort of stuff, but it's actually like a mystical secret behind their success.
It's like a cult. There's some occult stuff going on there, like summoning demons to tell them which stocks to short or whatever.
Yeah. And the whole thing is just really messy. And I think that
like physically messy because there's goat blood everywhere.
Goat and chicken blood, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in some of the files. Like, you see feathers. Like, it's just not right.
That's what tips you off to that something weird's going on. He's like, what are these feathers doing?
What are all
files?
these feathers? And that's not cranberry sauce.
It doesn't taste like it anyway.
Oh, that was.
This one was. Oh, yeah. Dated
Thanksgiving. Oh, of course it was.
1972.
Ooh.
Some old cranberry sauce. Okay. Do you then... Does all this result in you, like, summoning a demon? Like, is that the end game?
I'm just wondering, with you actually, digitizing all these files and typing, maybe there's some Latin phrases that you're typing in, that it becomes like a digital demon that sort of...
Ooh, oh, okay, because you're digitizing it, it, like, manifests in the digital realm.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like the idea of like a big pixelated demon face coming up in that classic BBC.
I kind of like the idea that, after you've been going for a little while and after you digitize some of the early Latin phrases, then you get like a Clippy like character come up that actually, wants to try and help you out a little bit further and help you with this mystery. But in reality, it's like a demonic presence within the computer.
Right. Yeah, that could be interesting. The only reason against that is because we've done at least one Clippy-like character fairly recently, but
I don't remember that, and neither do any of our listeners.
I was going to say that perhaps this is where the witch in Granny's Garden came from on the old BBC,
or maybe that's the end of the game that you actually funnel, this demon into this program
file.
This program that you happen to see on the BBC Micro or unspecified microcomputer that happens to be a lovely gardening app, and it turns into Granny's Garden and
into the creepy weird Granny's Garden that they made us play.
They didn't make us play, they just happened to not stop us from playing it on the...
This is why it was on every single BBC microcomputer in the 80s.
And that's why no one ever finished the game. Because if you finished it, then you unleashed hell.
Then you die.
Within the BBC Micro network. Because it couldn't escape.
No, it was very much a local area thing. Cool. All right, I think let's move on. I do have a game pitch.
Oh my god, I didn't know, even though I said that we were going to do this earlier. But
yeah, I thought let's get some regular old click pitch in there first, because this there's some topics in this that it's not necessarily going to be like a full on funny thing necessarily.
Yeah, so in other words, we got all the comical stuff out in the first half hour of this. And
it's getting serious now. It's getting serious.
So
now,
Ben,
folks.
why don't you tell people why you came up with this idea? What have you been doing?
So I've been playing Dark Side Detective, which is an adventure game series that Trevor and I enjoy, and it's inspiring in a way because they do a lot with a little. It's very retro style, pixel graphics. Like, I don't know what the actual resolution would end up being, but
300 by 200, 320 by 200.
Yeah,
something like that.
Big old chunky pixel characters. Not a lot of animation and stuff, but just great funny storylines and pretty good puzzles.
And they really don't need that many screens to be able to do it all in either.
Yeah, no, they separate it out by cases. Each case has maybe 8 to 10 screens
max, especially in the first one. Like the first one, there were some cases that had literally 4 screens, but they managed to get a full 20-minute case out of it that you were laughing out loud the entire time. Yeah.
Oh, it's great writing. The point is that it does often inspire me to think about, hey, we could make an adventure game and have attempted to in the past, and
there are numerous. In fact, there's one recording that we made about the leading up to us creating an adventure game, and we recorded the brainstorming session and all this sort of stuff, and it's never going to be heard by dear listeners.
We'll probably do it again, because that is something that I'd like to, perhaps attempt again. But the problem we often have with doing our own adventure game is we well know, particularly from doing the Global Game Jam and stuff, that if we're going to get anything finished, it needs to be fairly small in scope.
Every story that we come up with is very large in scope.
It's very hard to
very
do so.
Conceptual.
Yes. We often just complicate the writing process then by making it too sort of out there. So I came up with the idea the other night. While I was thinking about this, it is definitely not in scope, but I quite liked the idea of it as a point-and-click adventure game, and so I'm bringing it to you, dear listener, and to you, Trevor, so that we can riff on it and see where it could be. So the general idea is, and part of what made me think about this is the heat waves that are going on in North America at the moment. As a direct result of our failure as a species to keep the climate change to any sort of reasonable level that we have created. And so I was thinking, okay, setting this in the near future where climate change has gotten to the point where
it's irreversible.
We're having these huge heat waves. It's definitely irreversible. And really highlighting the difference between sort of the haves and the have-nots. Mm-hmm. The people who have homes and who can afford to air condition these homes or heat them, in the other extreme, versus those who can't, and the fact that we'll be spending, so the point being that people are going to be spending a lot more time indoors where they can control their temperatures and their environment, but they're also still going to be wanting to order food and have things brought to them and that sort of thing, because this is the world we live in and that's people's expectations. So there's still going to be this need, in a very capitalistic way, for delivery people. Mm-hmm. And so the idea here was that you play one of these delivery people in a somewhat climate ravaged, but not post-apocalyptic yet. I'm not talking civilization has broken down. I'm talking this is highlighting the differences here where you need this job to survive, but you're essentially having to battle the climate and the extremes of the climate just to get people their fucking Subway sandwich or whatever.
Yeah. So when you first told me this idea, well, you didn't tell me, you sent it to me in Messenger, and I read it, I started thinking, okay, so it's kind of like you've got a metro sort of thing of, this global warming can also mean, extreme chill and all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
I'm picturing, this snow-covered landscape and all this sort of stuff, and you see this small station wagon driving through the snow, and in the distance you see, Subway or Coles or Woolworths or something like that, and you're pulling up and, this is sort of like the intro movie of you get out and you say, order for such and such, and you get back in your car and you're fighting off mutants and all this sort of stuff, and you're fighting off other people, and, you're getting back in your car and you're driving off. And then you arrive at someone's house and it's like, yeah, thanks. And then you have a look at your phone and they don't tip you. And you're like,
yeah, they gave you 3 stars. Yeah, exactly. Combining the idea of
crazy taxi,
the horrors of the gig economy. No, I don't think we go arcadey with it. I like it as a story-based thing. But maybe maybe you break it up into deliveries, essentially, and you have some, you have other people that you're talking to who are also drivers for whatever this company is. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a bit of a competitive sort of thing because there are so many people who are displaced and who don't have, who rely on these jobs. It's not just automatically, oh, you get a ping in your app and you've got a job. It's 20 people get a ping on their app and whoever gets there first gets the job. Yeah. There's a whole competitive aspect to that where they're pitting these people against each other.
Now, to be real for a second, Ben, have you ever done a delivery job?
No.
So I used to be a pizza delivery driver, and the majority of my money was made on a Friday, Saturday night, where I would get to actually take 2-3 orders at a time. One of the biggest flaws that I'm seeing in some of these Uber and DoorDash and Deliveroo and all that sort of stuff is a lot of the time people are going out and getting a single order and they take it somewhere, and this is kind of horrible. If you want to do this properly, you should be able to turn up at a place, pick up 2-3 orders, and you take them all at once, because there's enough places out there. I only see that really happening during peak hour. I want to see in this game that there's a chance that if you sweet talk, some of these people, you can actually do 2-3 deliveries in a single run.
Yeah, look, we obviously would probably explore these systems because, it's a bit of world building going on here with how it's all working. But I do want to base it more around, obviously it's a story-based thing if it's a point-and-click kind of idea.
So, where's the mystery?
I think it's a relatively mundane mystery in a way, in that the mystery itself is not around the whole world building. Like, this is just where it's set.
I'm picturing that on the third delivery, something happens and you're interested in what's happening at this place. Like, you keep on wanting to make sure that you get back to this place because that's a really interesting story that you want to
something
find
like
out
that,
more
or
about.
even just around the dealing, like, you are... your boss or something is like fucking you over and you're trying to like expose them or in some way fighting against these systems that are in place where you're having to battle uphill both figuratively and sometimes literally because there's mountains around. But I also want to mess around. I also want to explore the like technologies and stuff. I think I'm almost picturing this in a world where we have actually turned things around to a certain degree on the climate, right? It's actually not worsening. Like, everyone's got electric cars now. We've eliminated fossil fuel use. Like, the tech is I'm thinking we're setting this maybe 30, 40 years in the future, and the tech is clean-ish.
Please, can you turn up at someone's place, like a really rich person's place, and you see smoke coming out of their chimney because they've got a fire going, and that's, they're doing some sort of burning off that is adding more carbon to the atmosphere, and you're just like...
Yeah, I think there are still people, yes, who are essentially blaspheming against our new clean energy future. We just didn't do it on time, right? This is the point. Like,
I think their whole thing is that they're like, we're carbon neutral. We plant trees every weekend. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You can't be like...
Yeah, I think there are aspects of that. I like the idea also, and it's funny that you mentioned that you were thinking of going through the snow and stuff, because I was going the other direction of like battling through the heat, the sweltering heat outside while people are in there with their air conditioned homes, those who can afford it. But it could be both. Like, the whole point is, yes, you have both extremes, and so as the story progresses,
I just love the idea of going to extreme snow in an area that normally wouldn't get snow, and they're like, so much for global warming, hey? And it's like,
oh yeah, there's still fucking idiots saying it in this world where they're like essentially trapped inside their homes because the weather outside is too extreme all year round. Yeah, I mean, you could have a fun little thing where essentially, like, you start off and you're in the sweltering heat and you're having to deal with that, and you've got your little. I'm picturing you're in some sort of mini car, like almost like a smart car thing, but with a more sort of futuristic vibe to it. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a cross between a car and a bike, in that it's enclosed, but I don't know, it may even use human, like it may even be human powered, like maybe it's not actually...
It's pedal powered.
or maybe it's just like it's kind of like an electric bike, like it's solar, it's got these, big solar panels on the outside, but they don't use enough. It's just sort of, you can, get up a hill with it, but then you coast down the hill or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
Just to really, hit home that they're still working. These people are working so freaking hard for so little.
I'm picturing that there's some scenes kind of like The Walking Dead, Telltale games and that sort of stuff, where there's a little bit of not so much a QTE, but an actual like physical thing that you've got to try and do to get through, and then you can have some action scenes. You can have some normal sort of scenes.
Yeah, I'm definitely picturing it closer to a Walking Dead, like a Telltale sort of thing, than a full-on, like, inventory-based point and click. I don't think it lends itself well to that, because it is more just around the storytelling. And yeah, I think you do have those moments where it's like, oh shit, the power's run out in my little monobike or whatever it is, and you have to hit the arrow keys left and right to get up the hill.
So,
or whatever it is to pedal.
While we've been talking, and because, I've got sort of in my head snow, and then you've got the, drastic heat and all this sort of stuff, I'm picturing this, the trailer for the game is set to the song, Let It Snow. And, the weather outside is frightful. And, it's just heat burning. Burning down, and you see like people scrambling at the trying to get into the supermarket or whatever, and it's trying to get the deliveries, and then then you see a scene of you going through the snow, and it's like
I think the trailer is a side-on view of you in your, and I'm picturing this I don't know, I called it a monobike thing because I'm almost picturing it like it's just a futuristic sort of vehicle that is enclosed, but is it's like plastic on the outside. It's like a mass-produced thing or whatever. And so you can see the person inside. And I'm picturing it's the side-on view, and it's showing your character just like pedaling, and as the music goes, the music can stay the same. It's switching between different scenes, right? So one scene you can see the freaking heat coming up off the road, and you've got a pile of deliveries on your little back section of your device, of your vehicle, and you're just pedaling, and then it switches, and now it's fucking snow, and you're still pedaling. You've got different things in the back, and then it switches to another thing, and yeah, you've got like people trying to get into your thing because they're like, you're having to fight off okay, Trevor's just sent me a picture of something from South Park, which I don't recall, but it's some sort of weird one wheel thing. Is this where he's like sitting on a dildo essentially?
Yep.
And then what is he doing with his mouth?
He's sucking on the control stick, and then he's jacking off the handlebars.
And that's how he has to drive it.
Yeah. Okay. It's called the It Bike.
Yeah, so it's basically that, but it's enclosed.
As soon as you said,
less sexual.
As soon as you said this thing, I'm just like, I couldn't get it out of my head, so I had to share it.
That's fine. But yeah, I'm picturing like side on. It's essentially like your character is, one of those things where like your character's in the same spot, and it switches. Essentially, the environment that you're in switches as you go, and then maybe it ends and you eventually like deliver the food to someone. But yeah, I think I think a lot of it is set on the road as you're doing these deliveries. That's where a lot of the dialogue happens, your exposition and stuff, and then you explore some ideas around your boss exploiting you, and so your goal is to expose them or something. Mm-hmm. But probably eventually determining that it's fruitless, and you just get another asshole boss coming in and replacing them, and the whole point is fuck capitalism, and we've screwed the earth up. Mm-hmm. Yay! And this is why I didn't want to start with this game, because it's depressing.
Okay, so we're gonna continue on with some click pitch, and we're gonna lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, we can move on. But that was my fun idea, and I'd love to play that game and for someone to write it, because I think it's got some cool ideas. 3, 2, 1, click.
3, 2, 1, click indeed.
Timed cover.
Outrageous cattle. It's outrageous.
Outrageous. Timed cover outrageous cattle. Is this about getting your cattle undercover? Is this like an arcadey style herding game or something? Yes,
but it's a little bit crazier than what you're thinking. Because this is futuristic cattle rustling in which you can set portals.
It's in 3 dimensions.
You can set portals and basically you can rustle the cattle into a portal that rustles them into the pen and all this sort of stuff. Like, I think we can play around with like some extra dimensional sort of stuff.
So is this
a future world where Aperture Science is actually... They continued on
into cattle,
and no, it's they actually developed the portal gun, and it got produced for the mainstream public, and so it's perfectly ready for everyone now, and it just so happens
I like the idea of setting this in a world where like everyone just uses portal guns as a part of regular day-to-day life. Like any job you can think of, people are just using portal guns.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to throw out a bunch of stuff. All right, portal over the bin, portal here. All right, now I can just chuck it off my desk straight into the bin.
Yeah. So I think it starts out as a simple sort of game where you're a cowboy trying to rustle up your cattle and all this sort of stuff. I think you've got your robotic dog that's going out and sort of trying to round them up and all this sort of stuff, and you're sort of out to do a little bit of shooing around of controlling your dog where it needs to go. And
before we get too deep, is this a puzzle game, like a single player kind of puzzle arcade game, or is this a competitive multiplayer thing?
It's definitely not multiplayer. It's definitely a single player experience. It's sort of a game where it starts out that you're just a cowboy utilizing this new technology. You thought this is a great way of doing it. You're controlling your little robot dog. You're trying to rustle all your cattle, and some weird things start happening because basically, with all these portal guns actually being used within the world, I think something's actually happening to the fabric of this reality or something like that, and it sort of goes into a larger thing of this many portal guns were never supposed to be used at once.
Okay, how do we bring that into? Because I was picturing almost that
the cattle, literally, the cattle get spliced with other things.
But is the main gameplay still cattle rustling as this story makes itself known, or do you branch it out into other things?
I think you can branch it out into other things. It's kind of like the next evolution of Portal and Aperture Science, but you're trying to take this back to Aperture Science to basically find out what the hell's going on.
Right, so this is almost like it's Portal 3.
It's Portal 3.
But you just happen to start as
a cattle rustler.
A cattle rustler.
As a cowboy.
Okay. I like the idea. Okay, I like the idea then of... Because, and this is something that Portal does really well, is use relatively simple mechanics in then a variety of ways and combine them in a variety of ways. So I think this is Portal 3. You've got your portal technology. You start with your portal technology. That's fine.
You want those cattle to move faster. You got your goo that you can put down on the ground and all this sort of stuff. So these things have come back.
We may be bringing in some of those other things, but my point was that the idea of some different mechanics that Portal hasn't used that could be interesting here is you've got some sort of herding mechanic, right? Like you've got some sort of guiding smaller creatures, into places, and then they might trigger a button because you get enough of them in there or something. But you can create puzzles where the only way to get enough in there is to put portals in strategic places or whatever and have them move, and they have to be moved by being scared by, like, you've got your little robotic dog companion, right?
And literally the robotic dog companion is a combination of those two co-op robots that have just been sort of
been joined
together in the weird, like, amalgamation that you don't notice at first until you realize, oh my god, what they totally fucked up these robots and kind of
I do like that idea of subtle, like, of designing them in that way. It's not entirely obvious until you maybe you like later in the game, it strips off the outer skin of them or something, and you realize that they're underneath. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think taking it in a fairly traditional Portal way, in that like the game play is essentially a series of contained puzzles like that, but more in the way of Portal 2, where it's not specifically
test chambers,
puzzle room, test chambers, but making your way through this world where each section, you have to solve the puzzles to get through it. But yes, I think using some of those ideas of, okay, well, I can portal, I've got 10 of these little cattle things, and I'm almost picturing that they're not cows. Like, you are herding some smaller creature that, I don't know, just has one giant teat on its head, and that's where the milk comes from. I don't know. That's what came to mind. But that you're using these things where it's like, okay, there are 10 of them in this area. I can portal them up there, but I need the dog to be on the other side of them to then herd them back, across this platform or whatever to get to the weight that, I need 10 of them on there, then it's going to open the door or whatever that is. And so that's where your puzzle comes in. It's like, okay, how do I get the dog up there at the same time? And
but you've got to be very careful when you switch off a portal, because you can slice cows in half. Like, I love the idea.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
This splicing mechanic actually starts coming into it. That, all they programmed into the actual portals is, like, humanoids. That if humanoids happen to go through these things, there were safety protocols to push you either side of it. But because it sees a cow as, like, 2 legs and 2 legs.
Oh, I see. Okay. Kind of saying there's still a 4-legged creature. Yep. Okay. That's fine.
It splits it in half.
That's kind of fun.
Because it goes, well, the legs are fine.
Well, because then you definitely have some puzzles later on where it's required that you need to be splicing these cows in half.
where you only need 10.5 cows.
Yeah. You need exactly the weight of 10.5 cows. That's the title of the episode, 10.5 cows.
Oh, God.
So you're essentially saving the world, because are you trying to, is it that you're trying to get to like the center of Aperture to like shut down all portal guns in the world or something? Because
I think at first you're just trying to get tech support. But then when you go to Aperture Science, that GLaDOS basically, like many people before,
still run by GLaDOS.
Well, like many people before you, who have come to complain, they kind of get shunted into like test chambers and stuff,
right?
Because they don't want anyone.
That's what GLaDOS likes to do, and Well, okay, I like that, because that allows you to play with the bureaucracy of, like, corporate bureaucracy, where it's not just that you get shoved into test chambers. It's like, oh, yes, you can send a complaint, just like head down this hallway and go fill out form,
22B.
F1B over here, but it's actually like test chamber F1B or whatever, right? Like it essentially is putting them through these endless things that they never get to the end. But you're the one who finally, manages to. That's a fun little twist on.
Yeah, and that way you don't have like Chell going through and all this sort of stuff. There's no reason why the farmer can't be female, like the cowboy can be a cowgirl.
Might as well keep that trend going of Portal.
Yep.
I think that gives you a good way to continue the vibe of Portal, the general ideas of it, but put it into a completely new situation. And bring in these new mechanics. I like the idea then actually, and this works out well, if your robot dog thing is a mixture of those robots, that at some point you do have to splice them in half with the portal, like in the way that you've learned to do, but they can join back together.
Yep.
Like, that's a technique. It's like, oh, now they can go in different directions and herd them from, because you have to do that to herd them in a certain way, but that can actually join back together. That would be really cool. I like that a lot.
There's just something about the idea that all Aperture Science was trying to do is come up with a product that they could sell to the masses and keep other experiments going. And so it just so happened to be that, like, by Chell going through all the portal test chambers and all that sort of stuff, she's worked out that, you know, all these things are actually good enough for market, and have sent it out into the world that you can have your portal guns out there and keep them charged up and all this sort of stuff, but then, you know, you utilising it for cattle rustling, which people never really thought of using it for, but it's just what you happen to go with.
Yeah.
That's where shit starts going down.
It's highlighted an error in the technology. Yeah. I like the idea that it's just, they never thought of four-legged creatures going through the portal, and it's resulting in deaths.
Oh, the first time it happens, like, it's gory. Like, it's...
You could go pretty dark with it. You could make it that it's like, it's not just, I need 10.5 cows to weigh this thing down. It's like, I need this area to be slippery, and so I'm just gonna, like, slice a cow up the top there, and its blood is gonna, you know, grease the whole area down or whatever.
Yeah, but you got to make sure that at least 2 of the legs are through, otherwise it just pushes them back. Like, because it could only cut them down.
There's a timing aspect, certainly. Yeah.
And I think that there's other robotic animals within Aperture Science when you get there later on, that you're doing the same thing, cutting them in half, but this time it's like oil is going everywhere, and that's what makes it slippery.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah.
That's really cool. We just made Portal 3.
See?
It's kind of awesome.
Valve should be able to count to 3 because, like, we came up with a shitty idea. Why can't they come up with a shitty idea?
I'm sure they've come up with plenty of shitty ideas, but I do wish they'd get one out. Yeah.
Especially because Portal 2 was so cool. Like,
Portal 2 was fucking great. I was just thinking I need to play through Portal 2 again.
Yeah. I'm actually wanting to play it as well. Damn it! Why did I say Portal? Let's just do one more quick one.
Let's do one more quick one, just for safety. Mimic passive.
Adjacent fraud.
So this is definitely about, like, a D&D mimic.
I mean, someone mimicking someone's behavior and being a fraud, like, they kind of go together.
I was thinking of this as, like, a mimic, like the creature in D&D.
Yeah. It's a fraudulent chest.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it works well.
We don't have to go the full-on D&D route. It could more just be
Dark Souls.
A creature that can mimic. I don't know Dark Souls. It doesn't have to be a chest, is what I'm saying. Like, it could just be... Well, can mimics mimic other things, or do they just mimic chests?
In Dark Souls, they mainly mimic chests. In D&D, they mainly mimic chests, so...
But are they capable of mimicking other things? Or are they literally just a chest? They always just look like a chest. And they've evolved that way because of all the adventurers who come through opening chests.
Okay, so in this game, you play a mimic.
Yes.
In which you've got to sort of run around like a dungeon looking for, you know, there's a perfect place for a chest to sit down. And you sit down.
I almost wonder, is the idea here that this is not in a dungeon and you're trying to find the right thing to mimic that will tempt people in maybe like a real world setting, like a contemporary setting. And so, you know, you I don't know, you park yourself next to a
laptop, and you're like, I'm a shittier laptop, you know, and it's like,
that doesn't work because they're going to go for the better one.
Damn it!
No, I was thinking like you park yourself next to a supermarket as like an ice cream chest
or an ice chest.
Well, I just like like one of those. You know, that you get your fucking...
cornettos out of.
Paddle pops and cornettos out of. And you just eat children. Or, you know, you're in the office and you mimic a box of donuts.
I'm now picturing the children come up and go, Mummy and Daddy, can I have a daddle dot That's not right.
Shut up, kid.
It's like, ooh, I don't really want, like, a Magnum. So they've only got shitty things. They're out of Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills. What's this Buffalo Bob? That's not right. Yeah, I don't know. Is this like trying to change into the most useful thing and just eat the most amount of people in an area, and then you have to move on? Or like, I'm almost thinking, is it a competitive thing? Or
I think this is more of a adventure sort of thing, that you're a mimic just trying to get by in the world. And
okay, I guess what is your impetus? What is your impetus for moving on?
You're hungry and you haven't been able to eat anything in a long time, and your powers for mimicry are waning, and you've got to be able to sustain yourself, sustain your life. No one has come into the dungeon for years, so now you've broken out into the real world.
You've had to venture out of the dungeon.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea that you sort of push the rock aside, and you're like in the middle of suburbia or something like that, and it's like, oh, no wonder no one is.
Yeah, this forgotten dungeon after hundreds of years. Yeah, that's fine. Do you find yourself then? Is it sort of an open worldish kind of situation then, where you're wandering around? You've got different areas. You do have like the school and the the commercial district and the suburban district.
You can always just be a toy chest in an orphanage, and people don't care if there's a few orphans missing. Especially Orpan Puncher, the character that we came up with a few episodes ago, the evil character.
Oh my god! Yes. I guess what I'm wondering about with this is then, like, what is your impetus from moving on? Like, if you come out into suburban and like, oh, there's a school, I'm going to be a toy chest. It's just that you literally like eat all the children, and then there's no more, and you have to keep moving because your mimic power level is dropping or something. Mm-hmm. And then is it just you have to choose the right thing in every section of this town until there's no people left in the town? Where I'm just trying to think, where's your depth of the gameplay?
It's all about, can the mimic actually, elevate itself above its stature in life, which is just usually to eat adventurers, and actually become, something more than what it was.
A useful member of society.
Yeah. I think by the end of the game, the mimic becomes mayor of the town.
Mayor mimic. Okay. How does it achieve that?
By eating criminals. I don't know.
Okay, so you become like a Dexter sort of figure where you are only targeting specific
demographic.
Demographic, and it's your hidden secret, and you eventually, are you mimicking a human as you become mayor, or are you?
Oh no! You're still like. Actually,
is the chest still like
I'm
your
picturing
default
that
form?
you're now mimicking like a Mayor McCheese sort of character. Like, it's the closest that you would get to human, with the long spindly legs, and you got like a burger like head.
Because that's just the only mayor. Like because you can only mimic inanimate objects, and so you came across an old abandoned McDonald's that still had a Mayor McCheese in the play area.
And geez, like, McDonald Land was fucked up.
Yeah,
like
it was.
Oh god.
All right. Well, look, on Mayor Mimic McCheese, I think that's a good enough way to end that game and to end this episode.
Mayor Mimic Cheese.
Mimic cheese. Mimic cheese. Yeah, there's something there.
Mimic cheese. Mayor McCheese. Mimic cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
Mimic cheese, that is the name of the game.
Mimic cheese. Okay. if you want to find us online, go to podchaser.com/pitstorm.
Oh, God.
Listen to our previous episodes and tell us what you thought of this one. Leave us a review. If you're a game designer and you want to hit us up for more ideas on, we can expand on these things if you like. We'll give you all sorts of shit.
I know that you probably don't want us to, but we can.
Do what you want. Yeah. We would welcome the opportunity.
And we'd also like to thank the wonderful musicians over at Kuridas for allowing us use of the song Man Defiance of the album Containment Failure each and every week.
That's right. So thank you for joining us this week on Pitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And I'm taking off to see the curvature of the Earth.
Not if I get you first.